Hello and welcome to Retro Reviews, my channel where I review my favorite retro video games of all time as well as some modern releases I have recently finished. The retro release that I want to look at today is Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Now, first and foremost, I want to say if you can hear my AC going right now, it's just flipping hot in my place and I just have to have it running. I can't turn it off right now, so if you can hear the background noise, sorry about that, but hopefully I'll be loud enough. I did a test video. I don't think it's too noticeable, but if you do hear it, that's why it's going on right now. I recently did a video, I think just a few months ago, talking about how Banjo and Kazooie Nuts and Bolts was unreviewable because I just found it so appallingly boring. I really just could not find any enjoyment in it. And fortunately enough for me, I had enough of the people that watch this channel in the comment section down below telling me that it does in fact get better and that the more you play it, the more fun you'll have with it. Now, I was not inclined to believe this, but I have heard a couple of people say this before that I knew, like in person, talked to me about this game, said that they actually enjoyed it. So I decided to give it a shake. And fortunately enough, I was at the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to try and 100% rare replay as well. So I knew I'd have to get to this at some point. And I figured this would be a fun game to play with my son. And it turns out there is some fun to be had in Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I will not lie. Now, I will get it out of the way right away. This is not the best game by any stretch of the imagination. This is very much the worst Banjo-Kazooie game out there, and that's including the ones on the Game Boy Advance. I've played Grunty's Revenge. I've played the Airplane spin-off game. This is definitely the lowest on the rung of the ladder here, because it's just nothing like any other Banjo-Kazooie game that you've ever played. And that's what most people point to when they say this game isn't great, because it's not a good Banjo game. It might be a good game in a lot of other metrics, but it's not a good Banjo game. And I will address that, because I still believe that for the most part, but I think this game, if it had been a pure spin-off game instead of the mainline Banjo 3E, instead of actually getting Banjo 3E, if this had been a spin-off game and Microsoft marketed it as a spin-off game, I think they could have still kept the franchise moving forward. I do think this is a great spin-off game in a lot of ways even. I think the concepts are actually pretty funny. I think they start off really, really slow. Like I said previously, it's incredibly boring early on, but as it gets moving, it ramps up and gives you more enjoyment as you play. The biggest thing that's really hard to work through as a Banjo fan is that there are so many jabs throughout this game, especially front-loaded at the beginning of this game, that talk about the other Banjo-Kazooie games and Rare's other catalog games, their previous platformers and 3D games, and just dogs on them so hard. It's like a kick in the face for the fan base. For anybody wanting Banjo 3E, and we kind of got the little cliffhanger at the end of Banjo 2E mentioning Banjo 3, people that were excited about that game and the prospect of an even bigger Banjo 3 on the GameCube or on the Xbox once they got purchased by Microsoft, these hopes were dashed to bits because it was very clear that the team working on this didn't have a ton of love for the property, or if they did, they didn't care for what it was and they cared about their new direction much more. And so it's really hard as a Banjo fan to sit through all of this dogging on the old games and on Rare's retro catalog and then moving forward and actually playing the game. It really is that difficult. To top it all off, Banjo-Kazooie are super fat, out of shape. They look awful in this game, and that's because it's supposed to be that way. You get like a little opening tutorial sequence where they make fun of platformers and collectathons because there's like a billion collectibles in front of you that you try and go get, and then they stop it and say, no one wants this anymore. People only care about explosions and cars, whatever. Very much of the era. This is very much an Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 era type game. You can tell by the textures, everything is darker and grayer. It's not as colorful and vibrant as you would expect on the Nintendo 64. Everything just feels different. And couple that with some pretty awful character designs. I will stand by, the character designs are pretty bad across the board. They do not do any of their characters justice. In fact, if you look at a couple of them, like Banjo-Kazooie, I think they are more or less about like themselves in terms of their personality. I think at the beginning of the game, they definitely aren't. They're just kind of washed up, and that's the joke. And then when they get restored to their normal selves for this big game that's going on to fight against Gruntilda, they become more of themselves. But if you look at Mumbo and Humba specifically in this game, they are awful imitations of what they used to be. absolutely dog water imitations. Like they have nothing to do almost. They sound like their old selves for sure, but they just are so weird in their design. They're very more like Mumbo especially is more humanoid instead of like his stocky figure. He almost looks like he's made of rock. I know he isn't, but it kind of looks like that in his older designs. And this one, he's just like this pink dude with a mask, and he's just kind of quirky and small, and there's not a whole lot about him that's appealing. He runs the motor shop, so he's the one that you go to when you find crates to add parts to all the, like pool that you can make carts out of. You go there to build your own cart and everything, which is incredibly confusing early on. It's not fun to build carts, but once you get the hang of it, the cart building actually becomes kind of cool. It's actually pretty interesting. It just takes a long time. It's a very slow burn, and it's not great at teaching you the ropes of actually building a competent cart that will actually function. There is a test track, which is very nice. You can customize with paint. There's a lot to like about it, but it does take a while. But Mumbo and Humba especially, they just feel like a terrible ripoff of their original versions. Humba especially, in like one of the areas called Logbox 720, it's like inside the game console or whatever, and there's computer chips everywhere. She talks about her gamer clan and like all of these, like, very dated at this point, but even back in the day, I'm sure they were super cringy. All these gamer terminology, and like it feels so off, and I don't think it's aged especially well. I hate Humba in this game, which is a huge shame because I thought she was a cool character in Banjo Tooie. I liked the dichotomy between them. They feel much less like enemies and more like, I don't even know. I just think they do them a really poor job here in Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Other NPCs are fine. I think the redesigns are okay. Klungo gets a big glow up. I think he's actually a much better character in this game coming from Tooie. I like what they've done with him. He even has like a side spin-off game that he's working on called Klungo Saves the World, and then another one with Klungo Saves the Universe, where it's like an 8-bit platforming game where you just try and, like, Klungo's holding up the world above him, and then Saves the Universe. It adds some more mechanics and everything. Those are really enjoyable. I really, really like those. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Despite it being a short little sequence and you have to unlock them over time, they're really enjoyable. It's a fun little side gig. A lot of the side content can be pretty enjoyable here. But the main gameplay loop of Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, now that we're 7.5 minutes into this video, is very simple. You have Log, the main, like, omnipotent character here. He's the one controlling the destiny of Banjo and Kazooie and Gruntilda here. Gruntilda gets a new body, this new robot body. She gets her head in a jar, and they go out to fight each other. Log stops them and says, hey, and we're going to settle this a different way. This is what gamers want. Again, it feels very out of touch for the fan base and everything, but he puts them in this simulation in Showdown Town, where it is. That's the new hub world here, and says, you have to go to these worlds, do quests and everything, collect jiggies, the standard stuff you would expect, and this is how you'll fight against each other. The one that comes out on top ends up winning the whole competition, and blah, blah, blah. That's what it is. And you're set up with a little trolley cart that is very unremarkable. It's very slow. It can't go up little inclines at all. It's like, it just sucks in every respect. And you have to level up this cart by defeating Gruntilda in these different worlds. It does not really make this clear. In fact, I'm one to kind of go into an area and try and get as much as I can done right away. And this game definitely punishes you for trying to do that. I was getting so many jiggies early on. Excuse me. Getting so many jiggies early on, I was unlocking new orbs that you get at the top of the main structure in Showdown Town. You go up to the top, Log sitting there. He's like, here's this ball, you put it in your cart, drive it to this next area, and you'll unlock a new world. I did not realize that you needed to do them in acts. You unlock like Act 1 for Nutty Acres is the first area, Act 2, all the way up to like Act 6 once you get enough jiggies. And Gruntilda, I think, is sitting at Act 4, if I'm not mistaken. And once you beat her in Act 4, you unlock the high grip wheels, so you can go up these inclines. The game doesn't really tell you this. It doesn't explain to you that you're going to be getting upgrades for your cart, and you are forced to use this cart in Showdown Town indefinitely. You are not allowed to switch. Once you're in the worlds, you can switch to any cart that you have. If you have like a blueprint from Humba, you can use her blueprint cars, provided that you have all the parts, or you can build your own. And you can freely switch between those inside the worlds. It always starts you off default with the trolley that you have in Showdown Town, and then it gives you the chance to switch off, which is very nice. It's nice that you can do that. But in Showdown Town, you have to just go with the default. And if you're not sure about how to progress, or you have this orb and it's telling you to go up a hill that you can't get up, it's extremely frustrating. There's also just tons of collectibles strewn around. For as much crap as they give you at the beginning of this game about gamers not liking collectathons anymore, they have more collectibles in this game than any of the other Banjo Kazooie games combined. It's astounding. There are 900 notes in Showdown Town alone. 900, and hundreds in every other world as well. It's not the standard 100 that you get in every area like in Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie. There are 900 in Showdown Town, several hundred in every single area. It doesn't matter like across all acts of the game, like Act 1 through 6 of Nutty Acres, they have their own like subdivisions. You'll have like Jinjos per thing and Jiggies that you can get. But the notes remain constant. So there's like 200 for all 6 acts of Nutty Acres, and you can find them at any point through any of the acts. That is something. I also really don't like the way that they divided the acts up. I'd rather just be able to go into the world and do what I want to do. I think leaving Act 1 and then going back into the same world with Act 2, it does change up the dynamics sometimes. Sometimes it's nighttime or different events are going on, then you can talk to different NPCs. I just don't like it, what they do with it. This really also feeds into the fact that I really don't like the structure of the game either. When you go into a world, the way that you go about getting a quest, instead of just organically finding it and figuring it out, you go up to NPCs that have a little jiggy over their head, and you talk to them, they give you a quest. It's typically a timed thing that you have to do in a certain amount of time, and if you get a certain amount of whatever you're trying to do, let's say like you're trying to move X piece to area Y. Like you put it in your cart, you drive it over there, and if you do it in a certain amount of time, you get a jiggy. If you get it in like barely any time at all, you'll get notes. So you get notes, a jiggy, and a new thing called a TT trophy, which is a special one if you do it fast enough or you do something. It's typically a speed challenge. Every single jiggy is like this. Every single one without fail is talk to an NPC, do a little quest for them, and get the jiggy, and that's it. There's no satisfaction here either about like the banjo getting the dun. He doesn't do his little dance. The sound will still go off when you like pop them out of the vending machine in Showdown Town, because that's how you actually collect them. You score them in the world. You come out and there's little vending machines that you activate with Kazooie's wrench that she gets, and this is the only weapon she gets. She has no other use in this entire game except her quips. So when you get out of the cart, you can swing it around. You've got this magical wrench that allows you to pick things up and like telekinetically pick them up or lift up your cart or fix things. You pick them up, you like activate the wrench, they go into your cart, and then you drive them to a central hub, and then it collects them. So it's an extra step. It's really annoying, and there's really no satisfaction to getting jiggies. If you complete the challenge and you get the jiggy, there's no real like feedback that you've gotten. All you see is a little pop-up on the screen saying, yay, you got the jiggy, or yay, you did the extra bit and got the TT trophy. And that's it. That really is it. And there are jiggies attached to TT trophies specifically, so there are more jiggies ultimately than TT trophies. There's extra hidden jiggies in Showdown Town as well, like finding machines that like will give you an extra jiggy. It's all pointless. It all feels pointless. So much so that like they made a point about it at the beginning of the game that people don't like collectathons and these collectibles aren't valuable anyway, and it makes them feel even less valuable. There's just no like feedback. It just feels bad. And that's the worst part about this game. However, some of the challenges as the game gets going, I know I've levied a lot of criticism here, as the game gets going, they become more interesting. They have more interesting ideas. There's one where you go into the middle of like, there's like a bunch of dominoes set up. There's like rows and rows of dominoes that all come to like a middle. And you have to knock over a certain amount of them to get a jiggy. Pretty straightforward. You get something heavy, you like build a heavy cart that can get a lot of speed, knock them over quickly, but you also need to think about how you can hit multiple rows at the same time. So if you build a cart that has like a really wide reaching like big like scoop in the front, that can maybe hit multiple ones. Or I've seen videos online of people flying into the center of it and getting like a bunch of spring-loaded things that you can shoot out at the same time and knock over a bunch of them at the same time, or blow air and it shoots and knocks them all over. Really creative solutions for this game, and like a ton of these challenges fall under this. You can build something wild and wacky and weird, and if it works, it feels really cool because it's really creative. They don't give you like a set solution typically. They give you the freedom to build something that you think will work. And that's where this game shines. Once you figure out how to unlock like the part of your brain that makes something, this mad Frankenstein's monster of a vehicle that like lets you shoot off, eject your seat out and get a top speed because the challenge is get as fast as you can, or another one where you're knocking over dominoes, or another one where you have to like brawl somebody over the edge and you have to make sure your car is heavier but also faster. That's where the creativity really makes this game shine. It really makes it a lot more fun. And it takes a while. It takes probably 4 or 5 hours, which is a big ask for people that probably love the Banjo Kazooie games and don't really want to play this one, Banjo Kazooie but with cars. It's a big ask to invest that much time into something like this. But once you get into it, and if you've like set your mind on actually beating this game, like I did, it becomes a lot more fun. Once I figured out how to fly through the air with like helicopters or with an airplane, or how I built a cart that had like retractable wings so I could make it a plane if I wanted to, that's where the game becomes really fun. And as you unlock more parts, then you can build carts that are super fast, are really versatile, have great weapons. That can be a lot of fun. The boss fights are kind of so-so, but they are a nice distraction. They typically involve some gimmick. Gruntilda's boss fight specifically will have her like with the high grip wheels, allowing her to do things that you can't do. And once Log figures that out, once you beat her, she's like, now your cart gets those things. There's another one where you get like flotation for your car, so now you can go on top of the water. There's another one where you can now get springs and you can jump. Stuff like that makes the game more enjoyable. And once you learn the mechanics of them and you unlock those parts and start using them, it becomes really fun. And then backtracking becomes really fun because now I have this crazy multi-tool vehicle that can go Mach speed but also fly through the air. Now I can explore all these old places that I wasn't able to get everything before, and I can mop everything up. I 100% completed this game. I didn't do all the trophies from the Xbox 360 version. I did the requirements for Rare Replay specifically because some of those include like online stuff, but I did 100% this game in terms of its jiggies and the musical notes, the TT trophies, and all of the collectible boxes that you can find around Showdown Town that unlock new vehicle parts. All of that was done. I even got the stop and swap eggs because I had finished Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie and got all those done. So I got all the stop and swap extra parts too for what that's worth. I did find an enjoyable experience here. I did have a lot of fun. The callbacks that they have to the characters as the game ramps up are really interesting. They have some nice deep cuts. They have some nice character interactions. I think the way that they dog on the past property sucks, but when they're not doing that, you can find an enjoyable experience here. Again, this is not a great Banjo game, but it is fun as a spin-off. If you can think about it as a spin-off, it's a lot more fun. Jinjos suck in this game. I forgot to talk about that. I'll talk about it really fast. You get a certain amount of Jinjos per act of each level that you're going through, and they are a very basic challenge. It's either a race, you're either pushing them off like a cliff, you're trying to out push them, out sumo them, as it were. You're taxiing them somewhere. It's really dull. It's really tedious trying to find them. They don't show up on the map. You have to like comb the map for them. That can really suck. So having that get scaled back really is not very fun. So there's a lot of hit and miss in terms of like character personality and like the way that the game is presented and the challenges and everything. A lot of it sucks, but there is a lot of fun to be had here too. So if you are a big Banjo fan and you have the time to invest in a tedious game that is going to insult you liking the previous stuff, if you can get past that, you will find an enjoyable experience here. If you can think of this as purely a spin-off game that they tried and did something brand new, you might find some cool stuff. It is really cool with the way like the carts will break apart in pieces if you run into things or you get shot or anything like that. There is a really cool mechanic where they break apart in pieces and you can like repair it while you're going. That can be really cool. It's a really amazing game that they've compiled here in terms of like technical achievement on the Xbox 360. It looks gorgeous. I wish they did more with these big empty worlds, but they are pretty gorgeous. And a lot of the environments are actually kind of cool. There's one called Banjo Land that's just like an amusement park of the past areas that you've been in. It's pretty sick. I actually like that one quite a bit. And some of the other places they came up with are pretty cool too. But again, it takes some time to get into that and actually like invest time into it before you enjoy it. That's a hard ask. So for that reason, I'm going to be giving Banjo Kazooie Nuts and Bolts a bronze rank. I did enjoy it enough to fully complete it. So that's saying something. It is worth your time if you're willing to get over that first 4 to 5 hours of not a whole lot of enjoyment. Again, crazy ask, but I would say that there is something to be there. It is something fun to be had there, and it might be worth your time if you're the right kind of person. So if you're looking for something new, you want something wild and weird, you got Rare Replays sitting around, go boot it up. I think that you can find some enjoyment here. And I at least did, and my son and I actually looked forward to playing that game, so that's something to be said there. Thank you so much for watching, I'll see you on the next one.